Welcome to We Need to Talk Now, presented by AT&T. I'm Alicia J, and I'm here with Ashley Nicole Moss. And we are so excited for this week's episode. But first, we have to thank all of you. Literally, we had 10,000 views in the first 4 days in our first episode. And I mean, it was so amazing to see the response. And, before we kick this episode off, we just wanted to give our gratitude because we love being here with you. We're going to love being with you here with you every week. And we definitely want to do that. So subscribe, like, comment, share, do all of the things so that we're not only tapped in together, but we're tapped in with a community that loves women's sports and wants to talk about it every week.
And I definitely want to give you your flowers individually because I was at the draft tonight. We'll dive into all of that. And there were so many people coming up to me saying how excited they are about this project and just how they cannot wait to see it just out there in the world. And I've been on the other side of things where you're creating a show from scratch and you're creating an idea and like it means so much to you. You've been working so hard on it behind the scenes for X amount of time. And then it comes time to put it out into the world and it can either go really, really good or really, really bad. And I know it's nerve-wracking, but I think the testament of how well it's performed is just a testament to the product, to the work you've put into it. And I'm just very excited to be part of it. So we're going to clap it up for you. Very, 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 very proud.
Oh, thank you so much. I mean, that means a lot. It's definitely been a lot of work. Like, I'm not going to sit here and lie. It's been a lot of work, but something that I'm passionate about, something that we're passionate about.
Yeah.
And it's something that everybody needs to hear. Women's sports has been here, but it has definitely arrived on many levels. And I'm just glad that we're here to talk about it every week, and that we're here to talk about it now. So thank you, Ashley. You going to start me off the show with some tears?
All right, listen, everyone was crying at the draft. I figured I'd keep the trend going, and it was an emotional night. Everyone was crying and happy tears and sad tears and in between tears. I was like, I'm gonna make Alicia cry too. So now we're here. Let's get started with the tears.
Somebody passed me a tissue, but thank you so much. I that means a lot. It really does. And I'm just so happy that we're here together because there couldn't be a better duo as far as I'm concerned and talking about this every week.
You're gonna make me cry now.
Listen, don't do it, girl. Don't do it. But somebody who certainly didn't necessarily shed any tears tonight, but had the night of her life is Caitlin Clark. She was pick number 1 overall. I mean, that's no surprise, right? But being there in the room watching that, what was your reaction to her being picked number 1?
First of all, I loved her outfit. She had on this Prada fit, and it was very much like up her alley, but it also was like a little bit surprising because we're not used to seeing Caitlin Clark like that, right? It was showing a little bit of skin, a little bit of leg. She looks really good. She's calm, cool, and collective, but I think it's easy to be all those things when you kind of know where you're going and where you're going. She knew she was going number 1 unless like the sky was falling and something happened and it just wasn't going to be the case. But she was just very calm. She was very gracious. She was very happy to be there. So many Clark fans were in the building. And I think it's really cool that she's going to Indiana. I think it's the perfect fit. Obviously, it's not too far from where she played in college. So a lot of that fan base will travel with her. As we know, 36 of the 40 regular season games that the Fever have are going to be nationally televised. So Clark Mania is going to continue. But one thing I really do like about this team and why I think it's a perfect fit for her is because you have to realize this is a team that has number 1 and number 2 draft picks going back multiple seasons. They're built for the spotlight. They're built for the limelight and the extra attention that Caitlin Clark is going to bring to this team, especially with all the regular season national games that they have, is not going to shake them. It's not going to rattle them because they've kind of had that spotlight on them already. This is just going to magnify it. So I think for her, it's beneficial to be in that environment that's not going to be too shaken by it. And also, listen, she's making the transition from collegiate to professional, and the girls that she's playing with have already been playing on the professional level. So that's a level of leadership that they're going to provide for her, and they're going to be able to help her along the way. So I think it's a match made in heaven, truthfully.
It absolutely is. And one thing that I really cannot wait to see is her playing with Aaliyah Boston.
Yes.
Something that is
who I met tonight. She's so cute.
She really is cute. She's amazing on every level, and I love seeing her get into TV as well. She's doing a great job. She hosted the orange carpet tonight, and she killed it. So it's been great to see that for sure. But one thing that is very, I would even say, underrated is Caitlin Clark's passing ability, and
Mm.
she is going to utilize that in every way on this team, and I just cannot wait to see the chemistry, the passing, the everything with her and Aaliyah Boston. Um, it's just gonna be a match really that everyone is going to see and need to see, and it's going to bring this team to another level, not only just with Caitlin Clark, but how everybody on that team works together and moves. I just think it's gonna be something beautiful to watch.
I'm glad you mentioned that because I think we get so caught up in the sexy parts of players' games and obviously the three-point shooting, the high volume shooting. We love to see it. We love the half court shots. It's just very enjoyable. It's high entertainment. But her passing, her court vision to me, just like you, is probably the most impressive. I'm always so amazed by athletes in general across the board when it comes to basketball who can see the court unfold steps ahead of it actually unfolding like that in real time. And the way that she knows where her teammates are at all times and the passes she's able to make because of that court vision not only just speaks to her skill set and how deep her bag is, but also her IQ. And I think you can also see how much of a student of the game she is because there are so many aspects of different players, both from the WNBA and the NBA, that she has aspects of in her game that it's just so cool to watch. She's like the perfect hybrid player. And if you had to take bits and pieces of some of your favorites, she would have a little bit of everything. But I think that court vision is going to be so huge for Indiana. It's just not only do you have a floor general, but you also have somebody who can go ahead and put up high volume shots. And that's like a double-edged sword. It's going to be very, very fun to watch. And they knew what they were doing. The league knew what they were doing, giving them 36 out of 40 national games. I'm just saying.
Oh, they definitely knew. I mean, you could even see they dropped merch right away the moment that she was called because they knew
Yep.
that they were gonna capitalize on that. There's so many moving parts that are already in motion just from her being picked tonight, right? So it's going to be something that is going to develop and I hope changes the game just as much as it did with the college game, right? I hope it
Yeah.
changes the W just as much because the best players in the world are playing in the WNBA. They've been playing in the WNBA, but bringing more eyes to the sport, anything that Caitlin is going to do to bring more awareness to the W, I welcome it in every single way because every single one of those players deserves that visibility. They deserve to see that. So it's not only going to be Caitlin Clark that are bringing new people to the game, but I will take all that comes with her because the league deserves it.
And
It
it was
deserves it.
like this is my first W draft. I've covered NBA drafts before in my career, but Brooklyn, where it was, the venue, I mean, the streets were lined up with fans. It was mayhem. Inside the theater was mayhem. It was just a level of support and excitement that we haven't seen for a very long time. And I know the cool thing is to kind of, on Twitter, the naysayers and the pessimists are like, well, let's see how they do next year with all this talent gone. Juju Watkins is still there. Paige hasn't declared. She's obviously coming back. There's still so much talent. And I think that the fan base has grown so immensely this past season that there are going to be people who are tuning in to kind of watch it all transpire again. And we speak about this all the time. The difference between the women's game and the men's game when it comes to the college level is that you're able to grow with a Caitlin Clark. You're able to grow with an Angel Reese from freshman year to junior, senior year. Whereas the men, come June, it's a lot of guys in the draft who are one and done players. You got to support them during their 1 year in college. And then it's like, okay, well, the next batch comes in. The women aren't like that. And I think that speaks so much to why there's so much support and just fandom around them because you actually grow with them. You get to watch them develop from freshmen who are still trying to figure it out to now going and playing on the professional level. And that's probably my favorite thing about the W and the transition from college to the W is that we got to watch these girls grow.
Well, and speaking of transition from college to the W, there's a lot of talk around, players that are coming in that have a rude awakening coming. Like they're thinking that it's going to be an easy transition going in. And when I think about Caitlin Clark, I personally think she's going to transition very well. But what are your thoughts on her transitioning from the college game to the W?
I think obviously, you're going against one players who've been doing it longer than you, right? So you're not going against college girls who also just like you are developing as players. You're going against women who have been in the league for X amount of years. So they're coming for you. She does have a target on her back. Let's call a spade a spade. We heard, Diana, we've heard all these other players kind of talking about, yeah, when she comes to the W, it's going to be a different conversation. And look, that's part of the game when you come in and you're a top draft prospect and you have all this, hoopla around you, much like Wemby when he entered the NBA, there's a target on your back. We're going to welcome you to the professional league with a different type of welcome than you may be accustomed to. But I think that the game has become such a scorers heavy league and it's so reliant on the three ball. It's so reliant on just being able to score that I don't know if her transition is going to be as difficult as people are making it seem. Now, she's obviously going to have some issues on offense in terms of what she normally likes to do. The tape's going to be out. You lock her down, you know what happens. But the difference versus her at Iowa versus her in Indiana, you lock her down, you still got to worry about the other four girls on the court and they're coming for you. So I don't know if it's going to be as tricky as a situation as people are making it seem. It's just going to be an adjustment.
Right. And I think for Caitlin, the biggest adjustment is going to be not being around her family. Like she's really family
Mhm.
oriented. And, while she will have, I believe her boyfriend is going to be in the same state, and I'm sure she'll have some friends around her. She's going to not be in a situation where she's surrounded by family. That's a transition too. I think people
Yeah.
don't talk enough about those types of transitions. I mean, look, 8 days ago, we were playing college basketball games, and now we're at the draft and we're about to start practicing. I mean, that in itself is a transition that
Mhm.
rookies have to deal with. So I don't know if it's necessarily going to be this like big play transition, like for some of these rookies, but
Mhm.
there's going to be a transition nonetheless. And so for me, it's like, how do they deal with any type of transition and not just on the court?
Mhm. Yeah, I mean, that happens in all professional sports when you're making that transition from college to professional, right? There are some players who are very fortunate. They get drafted to their hometown or they get drafted to the same state or the same city that, they went to college in. So their friends are there, their support system's there. When that's not the case, it's an adjustment. And also, unlike college where you have a very regimented schedule, you have a lot more free time as a professional. And I've interviewed, people making that transition in all sports from the NFL to the NBA to the MLB. And they say to me all the time, yes, the game is a little bit different in terms of the speed and what you have to know, what you don't have to know, how you have to adjust. But the hardest thing is not having your schedule packed like you do in college. You have practices, you have classes, you have practices again, you have film. Whereas in the professional, it's like 1 to 2 hours of practice, maybe, and the rest is for you to figure out. We're not here to hold your hand and babysit you. And for them, that's always been the toughest adjustment is the free time because you don't have that in college.
Right. That's a definite adjustment. And I guess we'll see. Like time is gonna tell, right? We will see in that first, you know, preseason game even how Caitlin is gonna adjust. And I'm really excited to see that. But one thing that we saw tonight from Caitlin was that look, was that
Mhm.
fit that she had at the draft. And that's one of my favorite parts. I'm not even gonna lie about the whole draft is the style. You were there seeing it in person. Obviously, we talked a little bit about Caitlyn having a little sparkle, maybe a little, midriff showing that we weren't really expecting, but I think
Yeah.
it all came together in a first look from Prada that it was the first time that they had ever dressed a women's player or a men's player. So NBA or
Love
WNBA was
that.
the first time that they did that. And what did you think of her overall look?
I loved it. You know what it is? I think that it fit her. And when I say fit her, I don't mean like tailoring. I think it fit her where it was like it's what she's comfortable in, but it also pushed her personal envelope a little bit. I didn't expect her to come in a full Angel Reese look. That's not who she is. But I think
Right.
that this kind of walks that line of being a little bit edgy, a little bit daring. Obviously, the midriff showing and the pumps, and her skirt's a lot higher than we see her in basketball shorts. So it's stepping outside of her personal comfort lane, but also still very much speaks to who she is. The oversized jacket gave her a little bit more flexibility, a sporty look. I really like it. The sunglasses, the pin straight hair that we're accustomed to seeing her in. I think this looks like something that she would wear. This looks like her. And I think when she looks back on this many, many years later, she's not gonna feel like she was being someone else. She's gonna feel like she was just a heightened version of herself. I like it. I'm a big
Yeah,
fan.
I was a big fan of it too. I was just a little shocked, I'm not gonna lie. I just was taken a little back at first. I was like, "Okay, Caitlin, do your thing."
I love it.
But I did like I even like there was a detail in the back that we can't see here, but you guys can look it up, and I even like those little details in it. It wasn't overdone. It had just the right little pop of things,
Yeah.
that I think Caitlin enjoyed. She looked very confident in it. She was pumped about being the first, Prada, styled athlete at, both NBA and WNBA drafts. So it was a win for sure. Now, we need to talk about Angel Reese, okay? Like, Angel stepped in the room and was like, I am here. It's
Uh-huh.
giving it girl. Like, it was giving me so many things that I personally loved. What did you think seeing it in person?
I saw this in person. It fit her really, really well. I wish she would have maybe gone with some color just because I feel like it was such a huge night. I don't know. I feel like it looked better in person than it might have photographed. And that's just because that fabric's really hard when it's mixed with the light. Sometimes in certain aspects of the room, it looked really shimmery and perfect and metallic, which is what she was going for. And then in other parts, it looked kind of like dull and you didn't get the full effect from watch or looking at it rather on a picture versus in person. In person, it was stunning. It fit on her properly when the lights hit it. It was just metallic on metallic, very Renaissance like. But this fabric's really, really hard because it doesn't always photograph well. And but I think it's her. It's daring, it's edgy. So I know that she's stuck with what her whole stilo is, her steez is, if you will. I just personally would have gone with a fabric that was a little bit more universally appealing in the way it photographed and videographed and everything in between. But this looks like Angel. I was not surprised by it at all.
It looks just like Angel. I
Yeah.
absolutely I it was my look of the night personally.
Yeah.
I know from the house because I was watching it from the house.
Mhm.
It looked really good to me, and she said that 2 days ago, the dress she was going to wear did not fit, and so they
Girl,
put
I've
together.
been there.
Huh?
I've been there. I
Oh,
recently got an outfit and it was this really cool. I wore it to the Lakers game in LA. And it was like this leather, very much like Kill Bill kind of look, but it was like a cream leather pant jacket situation. Tried it on at home before I put it in my suitcase. Pants fit amazing. Jacket was a little snug, but it was supposed to be a tight fit, but it still fit. Could zip it up. I had room to move my arms. When I tell you the day of the Lakers game, put the pants on. Okay, great. Perfect. Let's go. The jacket, don't know what happened. Couldn't zip it up. When I did zip it up, it was really tight. I was like, I'm confused. Is this the same jacket that I tried on just like 4 days ago? Why does it not fit? Very disappointed I could not get that fit off. Had to wear a t-shirt under it. It didn't hit the same. So I've been there, Angel. The struggle is real.
no, the struggle is real. It happens to the best of us, and it happened to her 2 days before the draft, and she pulled this look together, so for that in itself,
Kudos
she gets all the kudos,
for
in my
sure.
opinion. Like, absolutely loved it on every single level. So I've told you my favorite. Which one was your favorite, Ashley?
I loved Cameron Brink. Absolutely amazing. It was even prettier in person. I believe she's wearing Jimmy Choo, and the dress I think we found out was Balmain. Um, just gorgeous. I mean, her height alone gives her so much range. I mean, she can wear stuff fresh off the runway. She's the height of an actual supermodel. So like, and also her build, she's super slim, super slender. She's probably wearing a sample sale size of this. It's probably straight off the runway, like I said. It looked like her, it fit her beautifully, it moved beautifully when you saw her walking up the stage. Like the dress was perfectly tailored to her, wasn't showing anything it shouldn't have been showing. The leg was where it was supposed to be. She looked comfortable. She looked very pretty. I like how she did her hair, her makeup, very simple because the dress itself is just like a work of art. You didn't have to do much else. She was my favorite. I'm also a big fan of black and white. That's my that's my go-to. That's my pocket. I feel like it's always the safe spot. So you can never go wrong with a black and white dress. And with the orange carpet, the way it pops, beautiful. Beautiful job. Well done.
Yeah, Cameron was definitely a close second for me. I absolutely love the look. I think it's one of those classic looks that
Yeah.
you can look back at any point in time in your career, like 10 years from now,
Mhm.
and it will be just perfect. It's not one of those things that like doesn't age well or is like almost too edgy that when you look
Yeah.
back at it, you're kind of like, what was I doing? A lot of
Mhm.
people look back at those photos and think that, but I didn't. I love this look. It's timeless, classic. She can pull off anything. Let's be
Yeah.
clear. And I absolutely love this look as well.
Yeah,
So
definitely. I mean, to your point though, such a classic look. You think back to like the earlier drafts, especially like in the NBA with the oversized suits. And while they were like trendy back then, you ask like the guys now, like Carmelo, and he's like, yeah, I don't act like that was the wave. This is something that, like, to your point, this will be in style 15 years from now. This will be considered like a vintage look. So she knocked this out of the park. And I think that's probably what she was going for, like something that she can look back and be like, this was great. It was great then and it's great now. So she killed it. Absolutely loved it.
yeah, another thing that I loved was a lot of people had there's so many different things that you could call it, right? Grills, they had tooth bling. It was
Yeah.
it was an accessory that a lot of people had, and I thought that was really cool that people were expressing themselves in that way, and obviously, you know, showing off bling in different ways. There was even a basketball bag
Yes.
that
The basketball bag, super cute. I forget the
oh my
designer.
god.
I'm drawing a blank on the name, but I've seen a few people. I don't think it's a Judith. No, I don't think that's it's not the designer that I'm thinking of, but there are a lot of bags that are being created like that. And they come in like different shapes too. I've seen them like in martini glasses. I've seen them like in little, boxes of chocolate or like very cool like shapes and stuff like that. But I love a good basketball bag. I just love how very on brand it is, very like direct it is, but also how artistic creative it is. I think what I love about like the years the drafts continue is that you see these young women just really tap into like classic looks and like accessorizing them with like these elaborate pieces. But I think fashion just listen, when you look back at the stuff we were wearing in high school and in college, I'm like, you girls don't know what it's like to grow up without having contour tutorials because we were struggling back in the day. My makeup was horrendous.
Struggling. Struggling. Please don't unearth any of these old photos. This
Oh
is
my
not what
god,
we
one day
do.
we need to have a conversation about the disaster. I mean, the Jeffrey Campbell boots with the tight bandage dresses, the thin eyebrows, and the concealer that was 25 shades too light for my face. I thought I was the cutest thing in the world. I looked horrible.
Listen, I was wearing hand-me-downs from my boy cousins, so I might have beat you in that, okay? It was hard being 6'3" in
I
middle
bet.
school, okay? I was getting those jeans, but they weren't cute. They were not cute, but they were the right length, but they weren't cute. But we
What a
tried.
time. What a time.
What a time.
Yeah.
What a time. Another thing that I just wanted to mention before we get out of this segment is Alyssa Peely. It was so beautiful to see how she incorporated her
Yeah.
heritage, her culture into her look. She made sure that she tailored this dress specifically so that you could see her tribal tattoos, and then she had the tribal print. And I just thought that that was such a beautiful expression of what she holds dear to her the most, and that is her family, who have been big supporters. So I just want to give her a shout out for her look because it was beautiful in more ways than one.
Yeah, I thought that was really, really cool. I remember seeing this, not on the carpet, but just like walking around through the theater. And I thought it was just so cool and just different. Um, obviously the tailoring is what makes it extra special because it's precisely placed so you see that. But I also love the detail in the skirt. It's just a lot. I love, outfits like this that kind of tell a story. And, we were talking about classic looks. And I think that whenever you tell a story that's like close to who you are or is who you are, I don't think you can ever go wrong. And I think she just nailed it. It wasn't too much. It was just enough to where, you knew what she was representing, but you weren't distracted by anything else. It was tailored perfectly and combined it perfectly where your eyes were going exactly where she wanted them. She wanted you to for them to go. So I like it. I liked it a lot.
I did too. And there's so much more for us to cover about this draft. But before we get into it and before we get into the rest of the draft story, we're going to take a quick break. So we'll be right back.
And they're starting to get in the groove.
So impressive.
Lock your schedules. Aces are coming to CBS Sports Network.
So we talked about Caitlin. We talked about the impact that she's going to make. But let's talk about the rest of the draft and grade these teams for their picks.
Yeah.
So, you know, obviously the Fever get an A plus 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 plus. I mean, they didn't really do anything, but
Right.
they get a good grade. I will tell you this though. It took them way too long to make that pick. If I
It's
was them,
dramatic effect.
oh, too much. If I was them, the moment that they turned the pick over, I'm running. I'm having her run back out to say we pick Caitlin. Like
Yeah.
I don't need any drag in that. It was just too much. I was like, okay, you guys, like we already know who it's gonna be. Just come on out. Just
No,
let her come on out.
it's for dramatic effect. You gotta keep people on their P's and Q's. Like, oh, what if it's not Caitlin? What if it's somebody else? And then it's like, oh, I knew it was Caitlin. Surprise, surprise. Yeah. I mean, listen, we spoke about this earlier. I think that it's a great pick for them, obviously because it's Caitlin Clark. But I think also this is a team that has kind of gone through the rebuilding era, and they're now ready to reap the benefits of spending so much time rebuilding. I think Caitlin was that like additional piece that they needed. And I think it was a perfect team to have so much of a spotlight on them because, again, so many of their draft picks have been in this situation. Maybe not to the level of Caitlin Clark, but in some way, shape, or form, number one, number two draft picks. They know what it's like to have pressure on, their shoulders. They know what it's like to be under a microscope. I don't think they're going to get rattled by the attention, the additional attention, rather. This is the perfect situation for her because they've been here before as individual players, and now they'll be there together as a team. So
Absolutely. And like we said before, we can't wait to watch it unfold. They've been building little pieces piece by piece, and to see this magic all come together is going to be something powerful to watch. And then number 2, we have Cameron Brink, who was picked by the Sparks. What did you think about this pick?
I loved it. I think Cameron Brink was the best front court prospect in this year's draft. In the first round, at least, if we're just specifically talking first round. I think she has length. I think she has mobility. I think she has defensive instincts, things that you can't really teach. And they're always talking about, with the Sparks, foundational pieces, foundational pieces, foundational pieces. And I think that she's a foundation piece that can be the base of your team, but you can also build around. And they're going to need those defensive instincts, because they were ranked bottom in defensive rating. So those boards and that defensive effort is going to be huge for them this season. And I think she's the perfect piece for that. I'm actually surprised, we'll dive into in the next conversation, but I'm surprised the player that went third wasn't joining her in LA, but we'll talk about that in a second. But I love Cameron for LA.
Yeah, I love Cameron for LA. They definitely are in a rebuilding phase in a lot of different ways, and they need a player that's going to come and impact on both sides of the court. She's definitely someone that I would look to as being a franchise player.
For sure.
And so they definitely made the right pick in Cameron Brink. You cannot go wrong with her. She's an amazing player in every way, and she definitely fits all of the needs that the Sparks need right now.
Yeah.
Not next year, right now. They need it. So
Absolutely.
really looking forward to seeing her. The Sky, they went and they got Camila Cardoso.
Mm-hmm.
And I personally am really excited about this pick. I love her on many levels. I think she is going to be a great player for the Sky. It was really interesting before the game. Coach Staley was on the broadcast, and she said that Camilla really needs a coach that is going to inspire her and really get the best out of her. And she got it. She got it with Teaspoon. So I'm really excited to see what they do. I mean, the Sky pretty much, and this is not a knock on the Sky, but they pretty much need every single thing they can get. And they definitely have an amazing presence with her. And I think it was a good pick.
No, I agree completely. I'm actually surprised. I'm surprised that I'm not surprised because I feel like if she was still on the board, there was a good chance she wasn't going to fall to LA. But I know LA could have utilized her greatly, and having her and Cameron Brink would have been huge just because Cardoso's so big on the boards. I mean, we watched her throughout the entire tournament, just an absolute monster when it comes to the rebounds, but also those second chance opportunities that she provides because of those rebounds are huge. So Chicago got an amazing, amazing player within her for those very reasons. And I know LA is kicking themselves that they couldn't go ahead and draft twice back to back because she would have been amazing in LA, but she's going to do wonders in Chicago. To your point, they need so much, and there's so much she provides, not only from a defensive side, but also offensively, that like I can see them building and her being a focal point, one of the focal points to this team. So Chicago got a good one for sure.
Definitely. So would we agree that so far we're at all A's? Like,
Yeah.
I personally would say that for sure.
Yeah.
And
Definitely.
another A plus that I think the Sparks got Rickea Jackson, and they got a center in Brink, which was an amazing pick. Obviously, we talked about that. And then they got arguably the best wing in the draft, I would say. They say that she's probably the most pro-ready player, which is definitely an impact that they need. Just like I said, they need Cameron today. They need her today as well. So I think I would give them an A+ for their pick, even though, obviously they could get other players, Camila Cardoso, but they didn't have her. So I think the pick that they made was an amazing pick.
Yeah, no notes. I agree completely. The Sparks needed a lot in certain aspects of the game, I should say. And I think that this is just perfect building those foundational pieces, and those pieces that necessarily don't need that much work to be professional ready. And I think they got two really, really good ones when it came to both of those needs. So the Sparks are going to be fun to watch. They really
Very
are.
fun to watch.
Yeah.
Very fun to watch. Another team that I'm looking to watch this year are the Wings, and they
Who
another
sold
team.
out, by the way, all their courtside seats for the new season. So congratulations to Dallas. People in Dallas are very excited about Wings basketball this season. So shout out to them.
Definitely. I'm definitely excited to watch the Wings this season. They had a really good, a lot of success last year, and just building with another player like JC Sheldon is definitely something that I think was a good move on their part. So really excited to see how that team, molds and gels together and excels even more this year than they did the last.
Yeah, definitely. The Mystics. Let's talk about the Mystics. How do you feel? Aaliyah Edwards now in Washington. How do you feel about it?
I think that it's great.
Surprised?
They lost. I'm not really surprised. I mean,
Okay.
at that position, like I don't know who else you would pick that was available. She's an amazing player, obviously, but the Mystics had a really rough offseason. They lost Cloud. Elena Deladon is not going to play this year. And they need a player to come in and make an impact right away. And Edwards is going to do that. She's an amazing player that I can't wait to watch. And I think at that pick, with what they had left, they picked the best player that they could.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with you completely. This next one though, you wanna tee up this next one, because this was obviously the trade happened. It was Minnesota. It ended up being Chicago, and the Bayou Barbie is headed to Chi-Town. I wasn't surprised by this. I actually think Chicago's a much better fit than Minnesota was going to be for her. My biggest reason why is not necessarily about Angel's play or her playing style currently, but what she needs to work on in her game, and why I think Chicago's the perfect place for that. The GM comes from their new GM rather comes from a player developmental background, right? Used to developing players. Also, their head coach, patient in developing players and making them the better versions of what they already are. And Angel has aspects of her game that need to be developed when coming from the collegiate level to the professional level. Chicago's the perfect place for that, because that is what they do. That is what their background's in. And there are a lot of franchises that don't necessarily have the patience, the time, the resources, or even the desire to do any of that. And I have seen it. Listen, I'm a Knicks fan, so I've seen that up close and personal, unfortunately.
Yes,
This is a great place for her to get better at the things she needs to get better at. I actually like this a lot.
I like this a lot. I saw a lot of people saying that it wasn't a good pick.
Really?
And I truly do not understand that. I think it's just something that unfortunately is following Angel from college, is that controversy, is people saying things about her, judging her, all of those things. And it's like, to me, this was one of the best picks that you could do. Angel Reese does have work to do, a lot of transition to make. She
Mhm.
has to change her game in ways that,
Mhm.
you know, is going to take a little bit of time, but she wants it. She's already in the gym doing it. She is not going to let herself fail. She has said time and time again, she wants to be one of the best players to ever play in the WNBA. And she's shown us time and time again that she's going to be successful at everything that she does. She is a champion. She is a fantastic player. She also has made herself amazing in marketing. Like, I'm not trying to like make it about money, but like
And
she has
Chicago's
a
a
fan
great
base.
city, it's a major city, a major market. It's a great city to do all those things
It's a
too.
great city for all of it. And she has a fan base that is going to follow her wherever she goes, which is one of the components that we need in this league. It's one of the things that is making um college basketball successful, but then it's also going to make the W even more successful as well. There's so many things about Angel that are so positive and amazing, from her hard work ethic to what she has built off the court, that this makes this a no-brainer for me. Like,
I also think one thing I like about it too is in her post game, she said, this is not a direct quote, but she said something along the lines like when they asked her why she entered the draft this year instead of going back for another year because she was eligible, she said, I want to hit rock bottom and start over. Like I want to hit the very bottom I can hit and be built up as a professional. And I just think that mindset. I interviewed Angel after LSU won the national championship and the whole, situation with the White House and how, First Lady Joe Biden went and spoke to the Iowa team as well and invited them to the White House, even though they didn't win. And the whole controversy of that, because it's like, well, losers rather don't go to the White House. Why are we making an exception? Even in my conversation with her around like her business and her mindset, whenever the time was going to come for her to declare, she always had a very clear cut plan. But she's like, look, once I declare, everything I do here and everything I've done here, it no longer matters because I'm going into a league where there are women who have done it more than I have. They've done it on a higher level than I have. They're doing things on a professional level at a higher level than I have that I've never done. Like I am no longer a big fish in a small pond. Now it's reverse. And she's like, I actually can't wait for that because it's kind of like an opportunity for me to reinvent myself and start from zero. And I just think that mindset that she has at such a young age, she has all the reasons to kind of be cocky and arrogant and walk around like she's the best of the best, but she wants to get her hands dirty and she wants to start from zero. And I think Chicago's a great place for her to do that.
absolutely. And she said that one of the reasons why she declared is that she had came and done everything that she had set out to
Check,
do in college.
check.
She's
Right.
going to do the same in the WNBA. And so I listen, at 7, it was they got a great pick and a steal as far as I'm
For
concerned
sure.
in this draft. So
Yeah.
I'm really excited to see what Angel Reese does. It's going to be phenomenal. And anyone who says different, I mean, they just need to kind of look within themselves. That's
I mean,
all.
I know we have to move on to our next segment, but real quick, anything in the first round that surprised you? Anybody that went that you didn't think should go, or anybody that didn't go that you think should have went?
Honestly, there wasn't a low rating that I had for any of these teams. The only thing, there was a lot of gambles with international players that I
Mm,
thought was very interesting because you just never really know, like, are they going to play for you? Are
mhm,
they going to play for you in the future? It's very much a gamble when you do that type of drafting.
mhm.
But otherwise, I didn't really have anything that stood out in a major way to me. All of the players that were selected, they were selected for a very good reason with the needs of the team. And so I don't really have any low ratings for the rest of the picks.
Yeah, I think that, we were doing a pre-show before the draft with CBS, and we were having this very conversation that outside of the top 3, which I think everyone kind of knew what that was going to be or what that was going to look like, there's just so much talent and there's so much under the radar, quote unquote, talent in this draft that anything after 3 would not surprise me. And I wouldn't be like, what? That's neat. I just feel like there was just so much and so much that was needed and so much to choose from that anything after that, like nothing really is a hit. Nothing really is a miss for me. Everything is a hit in some way, shape, or form, if that makes sense.
It makes perfect sense, and it also gets me so excited because the caliber of everybody that was in this draft class is just gonna make the W so much better, and I just can't
Yeah.
wait to see what happens with all of the draftees, and where everything goes and how these teams use this new talent to execute on their team. So, really, really excited to see what happens, and literally can't wait because this is going to happen every year. When you look at the players that are coming down the line, like this is not the last exciting draft class that we're having. And so it just makes me excited for the future of women's basketball overall.
Yeah. Very exciting. It's going to be fun.
Well, Ashley, it is time for Connecting Changes Everything presented by AT&T. This is Connecting Changes Everything, where we aim to connect you with something in the world of sports that you need to know about. And this week, we're talking about expansion in the WNBA. Right now, there are 144 spots, that roster spots in the WNBA, which is not a lot. And even though there's so much talent, it's really hard to have anything that is guaranteed
Right.
in this league.
Listen, and they're talking about expansion constantly. We already know that the Bay Area, the Yay area in 2025 is going to be adding a team, and there's talks of adding more. And most recently, the GOAT herself, Serena Williams, kind of spoke about this in a recent interview. So let's check that out.
I think the moment's been happening. We just needed the right catalyst and the right people, and I think that's kind of been happening over the past 2 years. And I think women's sport is having a moment that it should have always had. You know, I feel like tennis has had its moment, and it's international and it's huge, and it's always going to be there. Now it's like time to lift up other sports, women's soccer, women's basketball. Like there's so many other sports that women do so great. Let's put it on that platform that tennis is on, you know, and I feel like women's basketball is getting there, and it's arrived, and that's, you know, super exciting.
Could a WNBA team be added to your roster and the ownership stakes? Would you be interested?
I know, right? I absolutely would be. I think with the right market, you know, I think I would definitely be super interested in that.
When she says the right market, she means Miami, by the way. She's always in Miami. She lives there. So Miami may be next. But Alicia, obviously, like, love hearing that. Serena, the pinnacle of the pinnacle, just in tennis in general, athletes in general, one of the greatest, but huge advocate for women, Black women specifically in a sport like tennis that is predominantly white and is predominantly a rich white sport. She's broken so many barriers and has made it so that we can see the Coco Gauffs and everyone who's come after kind of have their moment and continue to grow the game. But I love what she said, specifically when she was talking about women's sports having its moment. It just needed the right catalyst because it's been happening. It's just now it's on a different scale, and now it's time to kind of monopolize and capitalize rather on this moment that it's having. Listen, 2025, Bay Area, right in your backyard. I know you're
Right here.
excited,
I
but
am.
is that enough, or do you want to see how that works before expanding, or you say screw it, like we're having a moment, let's just start popping up all over the place?
We are definitely having a moment, and I am definitely excited about expansion. Living in Oakland, I'm excited that we're going to have a W team here. I think we should have had one here because of our market. However, before we can expand, we need to fix the problems that are already occurring within the W. You can't just pile on more teams to something that needs to be fixed. So, number one, the travel needs to be fixed. Period. These players should not be traveling
Talk about
on they shouldn't. They should have private travel, not just because like, oh, they are in this league and they're professional players. It's because the travel of in being an athlete, like you cannot be on these commercial flights that are getting bumped, canceled. I mean, you have a back-to-back schedule that you have to adhere to. Your body is already going through so much.
it.
You need to be able to get there fast, efficiently, and also safely. Like having players like, for example, Brittany Griner, who has been through so much and has very much been in front of everybody's eyes, right? on a commercial flight with people who may have different political views or feel that she, shouldn't have been granted what she was. And I mean, that's a safety issue. We saw that with her. And so, like, the travel needs to be fixed. Like, you can't just bring more teams into a situation that is already bad. Like, that needs to be fixed, period. Like, you want to talk about that transition going from college to the like, all of the college players are on chartered flights.
Yeah.
So
I
that needs
I
to be
would
changed.
I would also like to see the maternity rights or opportunities or availabilities rather, or lack thereof, changed, because when we talk about women's sports, you can't ignore the fact that women are having babies, they're going on maternity leave, they're having more than one baby. And it's something that you obviously don't have to think about when you think about the NBA or the NFL, because men can't have babies. So I think that you have to approach women's sports with everything that comes with being a woman in mind. And obviously, we think back to the Skylar Diggins Smith situation. And it's very unfortunate because we've seen other situations where women are having babies and coming back from maternity leave, and they're not dealing with the same things that Skylar went through, which was just absolutely atrocious. Actually, very, very happy for her in Seattle. Skylar, we're rooting for you. Can't wait to see you do your thing. But that's something that I would like to see change, because I think that being a woman with a career is already hard. When you pile on being a wife, being a mother, being an expectant mother, it's just so many different tiers and responsibilities that I don't think people realize how draining and how exhausting and just how hard of a balancing act it is. And I think that having the team that you work for, the franchise that you pour so much of yourself into, just helping you out in every way that they possibly can, just makes a huge difference. And it makes a huge difference for when you can get your star players back, when you can get your girls back on the court, because their mind's not in some place else worrying about their new baby and who's taking care of their baby. Is their baby okay? It's just, we got to do better with that too.
Yeah, and we definitely need to do better with pay. Pay. Like, the pay needs to come up, and that is just point blank, period. There's nothing else to say about that.
$335,000 is what Caitlin Clark got. A little bit over $75,000 a year for 4 years. That's
4 years.
unheard of.
Right. So when you look at all of these things that need to be fixed with the 144 roster spots that they have now, it's like, how do you add more onto that when you haven't even fixed the problems that are there right now? And that's the only problem I have with expansion. It's like, yes, we need to expand. We absolutely do, but we need to fix these problems before we even get there. So that needs to be fixed before we can even add any more people to the equation.
Definitely. I agree completely.
So Ashley, I don't know about you, but I feel like I'm still recovering from the college season. I literally, I'm still trying to get my bearings. We just went through the draft, and literally the WNBA season is about to start. So what's up now? Like, what are we looking forward to in this WNBA season?
I'm very much looking forward to Caitlin Clark versus the New York Liberty, my New York Liberty, July 6th, right here on CBS. I'm very excited. Hopefully we can be in the building for that game. I feel like that'd be very cool. The CBS game, big game, right here in New York City. I'm very excited to see that one. Caitlin Clark under the bright lights of New York City in the Barclays Center. A lot of star power will be in the building, watching, whispering, thinking. And that's right before, it's a week and a half before the season pauses for the Olympics. So that's going to be all anybody can talk about until the Olympics happen. And then, but when the season resumes, is Caitlin Clark in Barclays Center. How'd she do under the bright lights of New York City? It's going to be cool, but I think that I'm really excited because we at CBS, as you know, have so many WNBA games this season from across all the teams in the league. And it's fun because we work here, we're doing the show, we're tied to the company that's going to be putting a lot of these games on a national platform, which means hopefully that we get to be part of a lot of these games front and center. And I'm just excited. We're coming off an incredible collegiate season. I think that last year's season for the W got a lot of new eyes on it, and I think we're just going to be capitalizing off that with all the eyes that were on the college season this year. And it's just going to be a combination of both worlds. And I'm excited. There's been a lot of trash talking happening before the season even started. Like the OGs are like, oh, the young girls think they're going to come in here and run stuff. I don't think so. It's going to be fun. There's some tension going on here. It's going to be good.
Yeah, it's going to be really, really good. It's not going to disappoint at all. There's nowhere in the season that I think we're going to sit back and say like that was a boring season. Nothing like that is going to occur. And I think also something that is going under the radar that not many people are talking about that I'm excited about is the Seattle Storm. They are
Yes.
building a squad,
Shout out to
okay?
Skylar.
A squad. They have NECA. Lloyd is obviously there. Skylar. I mean, the list honestly goes on and on. They are like silently building this squad. They're in the gym. I already know that they're going to mold together very well. There's a lot of veteran leadership there that I'm really excited to see. And I'm really excited to watch them play. I really am. I mean, the Storm, they are a WNBA team that is not affiliated with any NBA team. They have an amazing fan base, and they're going to have some like really, really, really good games there. Like they are one to watch, and I'm really excited. And then Nika Mule, it just got drafted there too. Second round, I believe, just got drafted, and her play is phenomenal, and she fits right in with the Storm. So I'm excited to see what she does there and how that goes for her. So for me, I'm excited about the overall growth. I'm obviously excited to see Caitlin Clark and how the magic that she created in the college game translates into the W. I'm really excited to see how that catapults on every level. But don't sleep on the Storm because they're going to be fun to watch.
Listen, I'm a huge Skylar Diggins fan. I have been since college. Love her. I'm so excited to see her play again. I'm so excited to see her play someplace that she's happy to be in. It was very hard for me seeing my girl be unhappy in Phoenix and everything she was going through. I'm excited to see her fits. She's probably, for me, the best dress in the W. Absolutely love her. Everything she puts on is fly. The first thing I can think of off the top of my head, I see it right now, is her in Kobe Bryant's high school jersey with the white socks, the shades, the dress shirt under the jersey, rocking it, jersey dress style. Love you, Skylar. You are so fly. I'm just happy to have her back. It's not the same without her. She, to me, she's the best there is right now. So I'm very excited for my girl.
I'm excited as well. And she has like something to prove. She's coming in hot.
She's coming in
and
hot.
she about to play. Okay.
Yeah.
I'm ready to watch that.
Real feisty during the off season, and in her interviews, she's coming in with a vengeance, and I'm very, very excited. So listen, we are so excited though to have you guys on this show with us every single week. We want to remind you to like, subscribe, share, listen wherever you get your podcasts. We're available on all platforms, and also share with a friend who shares with a friend who shares with a friend who shares with a friend, and you get it. Just keep going around the circle like that. And we will make sure we keep you locked with everything going on in the world of women's sports, being a woman in the sports industry, and everything in between. Because Alicia and I talk about a lot of stuff that's going on. Wait for our airport rant. That is coming. We had to do a draft show today, so we couldn't get into it. But next week, I think we'll carve out a segment where we just get off our grievances about the airport and everything that comes with the airport and have a little bit of fun before the season starts. We have a lot to say about that. But in the meantime, we want to thank you guys so much for spending your day with us, whatever part of your day you have decided to spend with us. And we will see you next week on We Need to Talk Now, presented by AT&T.
See you next week.